So to start, would each of you introduce yourself and give a brief description of the project you did?
My name is Hazel. I've been here for 4 years. Next year I'm going to Bennington. This is just a sweatshirt that says New York. I didn't get the memo about college sweatshirts. For theater and film. And my EI project was on how forensics appears in crime fiction stories.
Yeah.
My name is Lila. I'm going to Barnard College to study political science. And I've been a Hewitt student for 4 years. And my EI was about the treatment of Hispanic immigrants, both in America and in New York City.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lena. I'm going to Hamilton College. I've been here for 7 years, and my EI was about the religious self-portraits of Van Gogh and Marc Chagall.
So I'm Dr. Cherry Kung. I am the Director of College Guidance, and I would have loved to have been a Hewitt student. And I'm delighted to see all of you tonight as you're learning more about how exciting our extended inquiry program is.
So my first question is for Hazel. So Hazel, can you describe how your EI project helped you understand yourself better as a learner?
Absolutely. So I didn't do an EI project until 11th grade because it seemed like a lot of work and it seemed like a lot of pressure. But I'm really regretting that I didn't do it earlier because it's something that really helped me surprisingly be a better student in my classes. I was able to do research in a way that became more efficient over time. I was able to be more confident in managing my own time and scheduling how to organize a project. And most importantly, I had to present a major project to a bunch of teachers and also a group of my peers. And so that helped me be more confident in public speaking and in just understanding my own work and being able to share that with people. I feel like people say teaching is the best way to learn things, and I can agree with that because I learned a lot from presenting this. You want to jump in?
You all can jump in at any time if you have something to add. Okay. Lena wants to.
Also, I've done EI since 9th grade, and now for college assignments, if your senior thesis and your just long essays, everything seems a little less daunting now that I've done a semester long 20-ish page essay and presented it to a large panel. So it just helps build that confidence that you have as a learner and as a creator of research and writing.
Actually, there is something I could add. When I was talking to Dr. Brennan about preparing for this session, we were talking about this pyramid of intellectual tasks, and we were talking about how at the bottom of the pyramid is just memorizing facts, which is kind of something that you would do in an AP class, but on the pyramid, that's actually a relatively low-level skill. Most people can memorize facts. But then all the way at the top of the pyramid is actually creation, so using research to create something. And I would say that EI is all the way at the top of that pyramid, and students here get to do research that most people wouldn't even get to do till doing their doctorates. So I've definitely progressed a lot as a learner from this project.
Yeah. Well, my next question is for you, Lila. Can you talk about what you'll bring from this experience with you into the future?
Yeah. So as Hazel was talking about, a big component of the EI project is presenting it in front of faculty, which is something that most students will never get to do unless you're doing your doctorate. And at first that can feel very daunting, these are your teachers, there's a power dynamic there. But then when you go and you present your research, you gain a sense of self-confidence, and you have to know your project ins and out because you don't know what questions they're going to ask you. So you have to fully understand the stuff that you're learning about and be fully confident, whether you're just explaining that to the panel or you're explaining that to 100 different people in the room. I know when I presented my work, the library was packed with students that just came to watch. And at first that felt very scary to me, but I ended up enjoying it because I felt like a lot of people were interested in what I had to say, and I felt accomplished that I had taught these people something about a topic that they might not know about. So,
Yeah.
Mr. D is here, and I've heard him. Hi, Mr. D. I've heard him give the advice. Yeah, heard him give the advice several times to students that you're the person in the room who knows the most. So don't be intimidated by the people in the room. You know the most. And the sweetest thing happened when the 11th graders were about to present last week is that a student mimicked him and told another student that. She was like, don't worry, you know the most about this topic in the room. And I was just like, passing it along, so yeah. So I have a question for Lena.
Oh, thank you.
Lena, how did doing an EI project help you stand out as a college applicant?
Well, the thing about EI is that everyone has a different project, and unlike things like APs or courses that everyone takes in like public schools, the EI is completely unique for every individual. And when I was doing my supplements or my interviews, a main thing that I talked or wrote about was my EI, because honestly, the supplements, they're redundant. Like most colleges ask similar questions. And I talk for questions that are like, what's an academic thing that's you're passionate about? You can just write about your EI. Or in interviews, they ask similar questions, and you just talk about your EI. And they kind of look at you with these like big eyes, and they're like, whoa, like you know a lot about this very specific thing. And that's always helpful because it makes you stand out as a passionate learner.
Yes.
and just a specific example of how I used EI when answering supplements for the college process. When I was applying to Barnard, one of the questions was about being a learner in New York City. And for my EI project, I talked to migrants and people that it's their jobs to work with migrants in the city. So I wrote all about that. I wrote about the podcast that I made. And I guess they were happy to see that because I got in. So, yeah, definitely very helpful when applying to college.
Hazel wants to say something.
The other cool thing about EI is that because you get to choose what project you're doing, it's something that you're really passionate about. I'm obviously not going into what I've studied, if you were paying attention to what I said earlier, but I was really interested in that topic. It was something that I cared about, and because I was able to study something that was special to me, that I really enjoyed, that comes off in like interviews when people ask you about that, or in supplements. Your passion for the project can be like heard by the admissions people that are reading your papers or interviewing you, and they can see like, oh, this person cares about this. They actually do work that they find inspiring, which I think is really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that's interesting about the process for some kids is after doing something for a year and a half, sometimes they're like, what I learned is that I don't want to study that. And that's actually really great to understand that at 17 or 18 and not much later. So it's a journey of self-realization a lot of the time for them. So my next question is for you, Dr. Koch. Can you talk, as the Director of College Guidance, how Hewitt's EI program sets our students up for success in the college process? I know the students just talked about it, but can you talk about it from your perspective?
Sure. It's really, they always say, you don't want to speak after someone who's really good at speaking. And I feel like I'm coming after everybody who's spoken. So the heat is on. So I think I wanted to just provide some context to a lot of what our students have shared. And they are the proof in the pudding. And it's really hard to even find college students who, at many of the schools that you're all attending, who are actually doing what you've already done. And a lot of what you're doing is actually being done in graduate level work. And so that is, it's not just us talking about it. You've all just seen 3 presentations, and there's one later afterwards as well. And APs, and we have to address the elephant in the room, we don't offer APs, and that's intentional. About 20 plus years ago, many independent schools were on the verge of trying to get rid of their APs, because these are spaces where we have many talented teachers who themselves they think outside of the box, they teach outside of the box, and they want the freedom to do exactly what we're doing. But a lot of schools at that time were very tied to the AP curriculum. And the first school that went completely AP free was Fieldston, and it's been history since. Most of our peer schools do not offer the AP curriculum, and that's intentional. Is there a downside to not having APs? No, there is a downside to schools that do not offer rigor. That is a problem, but we don't have a shortage of that. And so how extended inquiry is viewed in colleges, I mean, a lot of which I think you've already gotten the answer to, but I've been working in the college admissions and college counseling space for almost 30 years. And I went to Columbia, I worked in Columbia admissions, and I used to hang out with a lot of my professors. And, one of the things is in these last, however long I've been doing this, every year has been yet another crazy record banner year in college admissions at the, most sought after schools. And you would think that professors are equally excited about that as the board members and the admissions people, but a lot of them were a little puzzled. So my professors were pretty candid in asking me when I was working in the admissions office, what's going on? You guys have lower and lower acceptance rates, and this is at Columbia, yet we're not necessarily seeing that reflected in the classroom. And I asked, well, what do you mean by that? These are the cream of the crop, the best kids. And they have great test scores. They're really strong students. They took all the APs they had in their, public high schools. And the reaction is that a lot of students, in their opinion, are not really enjoying the process of learning. They often want to know what's on the test. There is a sense that there isn't much intellectual curiosity, and the students are just not fun for them to have in the classroom. And so earlier, Samantha was talking about her EI, even though it's a 11th grade, 12th grade project. She's already expanded that into a fictional, if I had a third year, which she might do when she gets to college, but if I had a third year, I want to do this. That's incredibly exciting. It demonstrates that this is really what she and all of our students wanted to do. And that knowledge and that joy, and that's a really important word, joy. There's joy to the learning. It's not a grind. And what Lila was saying about the triangle, the chart, APs are very much, they're more like survey courses. And so you have to go really fast and you can't really get to much beyond. And what you talked about was just perfect, right? So there's a lot of memorizing, but you don't get to the level of where our students are in terms of how engaged they are, how wide, how deep they can go with the information. And it's also over 2 years. So that really is something, I mean, I don't think, coming to an amazing school like Hewitt is just about getting to college. You could do that at a lot of places, but I think it really is about helping our students become independent learners. And I'm just amazed each and every time. We've rehearsed and we watch each other's presentations so many times, but even having, repeatedly watched so many of your presentations, it's just impressive each and every time. The amount of confidence our students have in being able to stand up in all kinds of situations, to speak and to share information with adults and families who are touring or whatever it may be. It really, this is not normal. It's pretty spectacularly unusual. And I, wanted to dispel some myth about APs. There's this notion that, some folks think, well, if you take APs, AP scores are important for college placement. You can get credit for that. Not really. I mean, be it APs or anything rigorous like extended inquiry, what'll happen is they will give you at the selective colleges, they will give you placement in more advanced courses, but they want you there for 4 years. They're also tuition-driven institutions. They don't want you coming in with all these AP credits and then you're there for 2 years and you're done. They want you to go deeper and wider with your knowledge if you could get placement for things that are more advanced, like extended inquiry. So schools that have AP classes, there's a lot of pressure on the students. You can't just take a few of the APs. And most schools, if they offer it, the big public high schools, they offer a lot of APs. And so it's not atypical for someone competing with a Hewitt senior applying to, the top schools. Those students are carrying anywhere from 13 to 16 AP classes, which is not a really fun existence. And so that kind of pressure is just really not healthy. And I think, for admissions folks, they're very mindful that they need to admit strong students or students that could fit all kinds of metrics. So it's a win-win for them to admit our students, because not only are they wonderfully well prepared and they, and they're doing graduate level work through the EI, it's a slam dunk for them when our students are contributing to their enrollment success, as well as making their professors happy in the classroom. So that's a huge deal. And another thing is, whether our students are going on to schools that have open curriculum or core curriculums, they're really well prepared to succeed in any of those situations. And the EI is a lived experience that really contributes to the concept of lifelong learning. And our students, the imprint that the EI experience makes on Hewitt students shows up in all aspects of their life at Hewitt, in college, in their career, and far beyond.
Yeah.
Thank you. So before we close out, is there anything that the students up here that we haven't said about EI that you would like the audience to know?
Sure.
I think the main thing about EI I think we've talked about it a little bit, but it's something that is fun.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy doing my EI project. I mean, it's stressful, definitely. You're preparing and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to mess up. It's like, there's definitely a lot of stress that comes with it, but you're doing research into something that you care about, you're presenting it to people, and then people come up to you and they're like, oh my God, wow, your EI was so amazing, I learned so much. And that feels really nice. So it's a project that it's more fun than just taking a class that isn't super interesting to you. You get to decide what it's about and you make it really into whatever you want. So it's something that's fun for the students as well as looks good on college applications.
Could you make a list of other people's projects that you really liked?
Yes. Actually, everybody here was really good. Madden's was really good. She did a dance project. All the people that did dance projects were really good. Literally the entire grade. I watched so many people's, and I wish I could have watched everybody's, but we were split up into 2 different rooms. So,
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was annoying. So.
They were coming during their free periods. Yeah.
And to add on to that, I love watching EIs. Any grade EI, they're just so fun to watch, and everyone loves watching the EIs because they're all so unique and they're fun to be and see. So if you're worried about judgment and presenting, don't, because everyone loves watching EI.
It's also a fun way of connecting with other students where it's you present about this topic and you don't necessarily think that other people are interested in it, but then you present it and people will come up to you in their spare time and be like, wait, did you know this? Or wait, can you answer these questions? And it's just a really heartwarming feeling to think that other people are interested in what you're interested in, so.
Yeah. Like Samantha Kendra did her project on second generation immigrants, so. so that you can go talk to her. So that's all we have for the panel.